Deep dive interviews with music gear inventors, builders, creators, and tone chasers. The Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl uncovers the behind-the-scenes stories of the music gear that inspires us. And now, here's your host, Eric Dahl.
I'm so glad to have a friend of mine on that I've known for a number of years. I'm sure you know his products. You've played them, you've bought them, you've seen huge artists playing them also on stages all over the world. Danny Songhurst. Danny, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you thinking of
And I got to bring this up to brag on you, Danny, because we've seen each other at NAMM shows and guitar shows for many years. But when I saw you this past year at the NAMM show, it's like I was like, are you getting ready for a bodybuilding competition? I mean, you lost all this weight, you're fit, you're like a slide making machine.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as we discussed at NAMM, I had a little health scare. I've got kids and family and people that need me, and I just my priorities changed, and I wanted to just see how it was like on the other side.
And I'll tell you what, it's definitely a testament, for all of us, Danny. I mean, you're working out twice a day, 7 days a week. You're in the best shape of your life. And you said, not to overshare, but I mean, even the doctor is saying, hey, thumbs up, Danny.
Yeah. I lost about 120 pounds of body fat and stacked on about 20 pounds of, lean muscle just through a ton of diet changes and about an hour of cardio and about an hour of lifting, just resistance lifting. I don't do big heavy weights or anything because I have too many like shoulder pains and stuff like that. But just trying to stay consistent has really been a game changer for me. Yeah. And now I have even more energy to make more slides and more cool products and be.
And you do, it's I have worn your t-shirts all over the place with gigs and everything else over the years. But I want you to talk about what I love, Danny, is the story about how, because you are also a luthier and a guitar builder, and you've done some great guitar builds over the years, but you kind of took on the Rock Slide company, from your aunt and uncle. And because I remember when you did it, because I think we were talking at that time.
Yeah.
And when you were moving all the stuff over, to your shop to start doing this, how did that give us some history?
Well, a little bit of a sad story. So my uncle Mark was a brilliant guitar player. He was a circuit player in the 70s and 80s, had bands and albums and really cool hair. All of that stuff. He did, cover songs and originals. And he is actually the one, Mark Morse. Quick backstory too. So Mark's Guitar Shop, I got to shout them out there in Spokane, Washington here. That's where the Rock Slide all began. The store is still there, run by my buddy Nate. But he was tired of the available slides at the time, which weren't really slides. They were just or you could use them as a slide, but nothing really intentional. It was, like a pill bottle or a socket wrench or a piece of a handlebar or whatever chunk of metal or glass you could find around, which causes a problem where it's just kind of wobbly and rather than being able to focus on your playing, you're kind of focusing on making sure your slide doesn't fall off. So he said probably about 1998 or so, hey man, why don't we make a slide with a tapered interior? So that's exactly what he did, and he made them here locally. I remember when he did it, going down to the machine shop in Spokane and trying them on, and hey, how do you think this fits? And I wasn't not trying to say that I was a big part of it. I'm just saying I remember him doing it and thinking,
yeah. Well, and also it's cool part of your family to where you got to test them out, to where he's like going, hey, try this on.
Yeah. And actually, I would say the first person to really try him out was Miles Kennedy. He actually taught guitar lessons at my uncle's store.
I did not know that.
And that Miles Kennedy album, Blackbird, Alter Bridge album, Blackbird, if you read the liner notes in that, he shouts out my uncle in there. And my uncle actually taught him how to play Blackbird when he was, working at the store as a young man. So, yeah, a little history there. But Rock Slide, anyway, back to that, launched in about 1999, 2000 era, and shortly after that, 2005, early 2005, my uncle had a severe cancer diagnosis and basically had about 12 months to live, and he did pass away the very next summer. So, you know, that happened. My aunt struggled through that, and she ran the rock slide herself for several years, but she's a non-musician, non-guitar player, and was just kind of taking in whatever orders came through, kind of like literally by phone and fax back then. Um, so there was just a decent network that my uncle had built up in his short time with the company. And then I want to say around 2008 or 9, yeah, that's when I was building. She, had checked with her son, my cousin, and he didn't have any interest. And she was actually talking to Brian Bassett of Foghat, and he was interested in buying it.
Wow.
Don't know what happened there, but it didn't go through. And then she had approached me on it, and I was like, "Well, yeah, that sounds awesome." That's when I was building guitars, and anybody who knows me knows that I failed at that company. Was number
Disagree. You did not.
I made some cool stuff, but the numbers don't lie. And
I'm just saying, I liked what you were doing artistically. That's how you and I originally connected. Were on your guitars because I liked the vision that you had. So I don't think they were a failure. It's just that building.
it was a learning lesson.
Yeah, I mean, getting people to buy them and pay you money for them was not easy.
Yeah, and we did deal with some very cool artists, and I even went to Paul Allen's house, the co-founder of Microsoft, and hand built him a guitar. But a lot of that stuff didn't materialize into actual money, more so debt.
Yeah. Well, especially with like both of us being family men.
Yeah.
It's like you got a family, you got to keep a roof over your head, and you got to make money somehow.
Yeah, and slides that was right up my alley. I wasn't even a slide player at that time, even though I did have a bunch of rock slides around just from my uncle. But that's basically how I ended up with the company. So now I've had it for about 3 times longer than my uncle had it.
I know, which is just amazing me because I just when I asked you to come on the show, Danny, it's like I just remember talking you to when you had assumed everything from your aunt and how excited you were. But then also, I think what was so interesting to me as a friend of yours, to where not only did you take the existing rock slide, which was established, doing well, and we'll talk about the features and innovations, but then you, as the guy that you are, and as a musician, then elevated it and continued to go into new areas that the original rock slide was not in, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I took it over, we had 6 SKUs or models, which was the small, medium, and large polished brass. And then we had the same thing, but in a chrome plated version. So 6 UPC codes or models, and now we're up to about 50.
And I told you this too, because whenever you started doing the relic, and the relic and with the ball top, which was kind of unheard of. I mean, in slides, to do some of these things that you came up with, and that is my favorite slide that I have, of yours, and I've got a ton of slides.
The ball tip or the aged?
The aged. Yeah, it was one that you did.
Funny story about that.
Because it was like, but nobody had done that really before.
Yeah.
For slides.
Yeah. So those came purely out of just scrappiness and necessity, and being pretty much broke at the time. I had this big box of stuff that was, kind of B stock, ding and dent, whatever. my aunt was like, "Yeah, you probably can't use this or whatever," and it sat on my shelf for a while. And I was like, "There's no way that I'm gonna throw away or recycle like 250 or 300 slides." And I was like, "Man, aged guitars are really popular. Um, maybe I could learn how to age metal." And so that's literally how those came about. And I remember sending samples to both Pro Guitar Shop in Portland and then Chicago Music in Chicago. Dan B, I sent him over to him and he was like, "Man, these are cool." And I remember that day at the time they were like, $10 a slide, dealer cost or something like that.
Yeah.
And Dan B at Chicago Music goes, "Man, these are really cool. Why didn't you send me 50 of these? So I think we can sell these." And I got a $500 PO. That was like the most money I'd ever seen. And I had my two little kids and I was like, "Honey," I was like, "I think we're actually gonna be okay." And then so now fast forward to today, that's a big seller for us. And I take our perfectly good polished slides off of the shelf
Yeah.
and I age them.
And that's amazing to me because it was your idea. Because I remember when, you mentioned it to me, it's like, it's like when, well, it sounds like, it's like when we were talking, it's like relic and aged guitars are doing really well,
Yeah.
so why not, and, but also, we were talking before we started the show, Danny, to where you helped me as a player. And I know you've helped a lot of players and even on your website, you do this and in person when you're at shows, but a lot of us are wearing the wrong size slide. And then, and it's harder to see on the show here, but also like some of the innovations, like the knuckle and then the groove here, things like that, that you have really up with. I mean, there's so many great features, but a lot of musicians, Danny, wear the wrong side slide, right?
Yeah. And all features aside, that fitment is the most important thing. The easiest way that I can explain it to people is if you are a size 10 shoe, you're not going to be able to walk very well if you put on size 14s. You're going to be tripping over yourself. You're going to be, you know, pinching your toes at the end of your shoe to try to keep the thing on your foot and stuff. And that's the exact same problem that most slide players run into. And it's not really their fault. It's just kind of that's a lot of the information that's been out there forever is that, hey, you need a really long slide. You want 6-string coverage, and you also need it to be super heavy so that you get sustain. And then what ends up happening is then you start fretting out because your slide is too heavy. So then you get into what my buddy Matt at Mule coined the term slide action, and we don't believe in slide action
Yep.
at the rock slide
And also,
or
you have a mule right behind you over your shoulder, which I was ogling before we started the show.
Yeah, if you guys out there haven't heard of Mule guitars and you're into resonators or not, because he makes non-resonator guitars too, but very cool stuff that Matt is doing out of Saginaw, Michigan, in an old brick manufacturing building.
Yeah, and so for listeners and viewers of the show, be sure and check out those guitars. I will be
Mule Resophonic, but yeah, so slide fit. A common problem is like. Let's start with a proper fitting slide, actually. I just want to show you what it should fit like. So if you play on your pinky like me or whatever finger you play on, you're going to want a slide that fits on there like that.
right. Yeah, to where it's fitted like down to like the first knuckle.
Down to the first knuckle. Because of our tapered interior, it's tight at the fingertip and it's tight here. So I don't have to worry about the thing falling off.
Right.
I can now just focus on my playing and expressing my notes and my art without having to just like I said earlier, worry about the wobble or the thing falling off or just straight up finger fatigue. Because if I put this slide on that's too big, just like the too big of shoe, you see this all the time. You kind of crimp your finger in there to try to keep the thing
Yeah, it's
from
not
wobbling
comfortable.
around.
And that was the first thing I learned from you when you and I were talking was I had been using the wrong size slide for years and it was cramping up my hand and the whole time, whether I was doing, pinky or ring finger, to put the slides on to where, with the ring fingers, so you can, on either of them, you can fret behind and everything and mute. But, well, I was just wearing huge ones. And the cool thing about, to me, Danny, with the rock slides is the taper inside.
Yeah.
Then also, like we were talking with the knuckle car, and to be able to have the groove on the side that your finger goes against.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is that little half pipe there, and that's for your other finger to rest in, which just helps keep the slide oriented. And then this little fish mouth thingy that we call the knuckle cut is so that you can
It just makes them fit so much better, Danny.
yeah, and when they stop at your knuckle, you can you don't have to move your whole palm to try to get the right angle so that you're hitting the strings. You can do it there, it's out of the way.
Wow.
So real quickly too, I want to talk about length. You see, oh well, hey, you need 6-string coverage, but
So this is where its size does or doesn't matter, right?
what did you say?
This is where size does or doesn't matter, right? I mean, we're talking slides here for the audience, so they know.
Right.
These are guitar slides.
Yeah,
Let's continue.
whatever size you are, you need the good fit. But for full string coverage, I really want to touch on that because that's actually also, I'm just going to say bad info. If you have an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar, like any of these, a Les Paul, a Martin acoustic, or just about anything, they all have a radius fretboard. So 6-string coverage isn't really a thing because it's arched. And like by the time you were to push all the way down hard enough to hit your 2 E strings on the outside, your D and your G string are going to be literally hitting the fretboard. I mean, you can't even do it unless you have mile high action. And on top of that, I would say if you watch 99% of people playing slide, you're playing 1, 2, possibly up to 4 strings at once.
Exactly.
And if you are trying to ring all 6 strings, I would encourage you not to. I mean, rarely does it sound good. And you can still get all 6 strings by, doing your vibrato and then kind of working your hand up and down. I mean, there's ways to do it, but rarely does it sound good ringing out all 6 at once. Also, if you were to do that, you would need the high action because of the radius, like I just talked about, which for me, that kills all my other playing because, like, I played guitar for 10 years before I got into slides. So to say, hey, now you got to raise your action and you can only play slide, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for most people. And even if you watch really incredible slide players like, Dylan Adams or Ariel Posen or just any number of these people that you see on our website or our Instagram feed, they're always doing a combination of fretted notes and slide notes. Like, it's really nice to be able to play an E chord and then slide up to something. Or I'll just do an air demo of a simple pentatonic. Like Ariel Posen one time was like, well, hey, just play. He was giving me some tips on learning slide, and he said, just play like what you would normally play. So if you were going to play a pentatonic, like do 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 do, just do it with the slide. So fret that note that you would fret, and then play that note with the slide, and then from there you work on kind of sliding into them.
And vibrato technique too that you mentioned.
Yeah, or like a classic Allman Brothers, like blue ball, a fretted note, and then a slid note, it gives it a cool sound, and it actually frees you up to just play more stuff. So
because most of us, like you said too, Danny, when we're, I know myself when I'm playing slide, and usually I play with like a 3-piece band, so it's like I'm playing rhythm and then I go into slide and I'm singing also, so it's like going, you got to be able to do it all. And I think that falls with a lot of players and musicians, especially, ones that are endorsed by Rock Slide on your site. You got to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and pinky slide too has become increasingly more popular, especially I would say for people who started without playing slide, because it's really awkward to play when you lock up your entire ring finger.
Oh my God.
I mean, try to play an E chord with that thing on your finger. It's almost impossible. But with the pinky slide, it's small, it's lightweight, it's out of the way. You can do whatever you want with a slide, and then you can play almost every chord that you were ever going to play. Because, hey, let's be honest, most of us don't use our pinky anyway. So,
No. Well, unless you're doing, you're playing like an 11 or a 13 or something like that, you're doing like Huey Lewis or something. It's like, okay, maybe, but not, you don't do that with every song.
yeah. And if you have a small fitting slide, you can hit that 7, 11, or 13 with the slide, especially if you have one of our ball tip models. I mean,
Oh my God.
people use that like a fingertip. So,
Yeah, which it really is. Well, and I want to talk about this too, Danny, to where certainly when you took on the company, from your aunt and everything, and you mentioned you just had the brass and the chrome, but then over the years, as you've evolved with the rock slide, you've now offered glass, like your anniversary model, and you've offered ceramic. But like you said, you went from, like 6 or 7, different ones to where you've got 50 now
yeah.
from sizes, from materials. Can you just touch on a little bit, Danny? Kind of help us understand, because I would like to better understand as well the different, what you feel with the different tonality or the different feel of the different materials with rock slide.
Absolutely. I mean, the original brass or nickel plated type stuff is by far the sleekest. It's the most weight in a small package. It also doesn't break if you drop it. So, I mean, I've had people call me and be like, "Man, I broke one of your slides on the CMA stage or at the Grammys or something, and can you send me a brass one?" And so, it is nice to have that. Glass definitely has a different tone. I can't quite explain it. The way that I like to use it in guitar terms is, brass is gonna give you a little bit darker tone, kind of similar to a Les Paul, and I don't mean that you should play it on a Les Paul, but, guitar players use that term all the time, like a Les Paul style guitar versus like a Strat or a Tele.
Right.
Um,
Just a little
Zarder, a little brighter, like the Tele and Strat being a little brighter, like the glass kind of brings out a little bit more of that bright airiness, I would say, and the brass kind of rings out darker, a little more sustain as well with the brass, even though the glass is also fairly heavy. To do it, you have to do a lot thicker wall though, so the material itself just isn't as dense. It also becomes a little more cumbersome, the glass, just because it's a little thicker object on your finger.
and also, like you mentioned too, particularly on stages, because I've broken my share.
Oh yeah,
The glass and ceramic, are, if they hit a hard floor, they will break.
yeah,
And whereas the brass and the chrome,
yeah. Never gonna break. Ceramic, not so much. I mean, our ceramic is not coffee mug ceramic. It's made of a product called alumina, which
oh,
is the same type of material that you would find on top of a power pole for like an insulator, or like the thermostat housing like inside of your oven. It's extremely high temp. It's very tough.
wow.
And the ceramic is interesting. It's a lot heavier than the glass. So the way that I word that one is it's kind of like it's slippery like glass, but it has the weight of brass. So you kind of get, you know, a little bit of both worlds there.
Yeah, and I think to my ear, because I mean, once again, and not that I'm a very good slide player, but I certainly try a lot. Um, and I have some great slides, but I mean, but to me, the glass is more of like a shimmery sound, like you said, kind of lighter, a little higher in frequency. Um, the brass certainly darker and everything, which I like a lot. And then to me with the ceramic is almost like a little more rougher and ragged. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how to explain that, but I mean, all three, all of them have a different sound.
Yeah. Hey, and that's why we make them all too. And just like with guitars, if if you're lucky enough to have a few around, you usually end up with you know, a few of the common ones, and it's because they all sound different. So especially in the studio, I had a great conversation with Joey Landreth talking about his slide choices. And obviously, if you see him out in the world, he's always playing the brass one. However, in the studio, he's almost always playing a glass one, or at least at the time that he told me this, he was. And that's because his engineer was like, hey, man, the brass just puts off a little too much string noise, which I actually like string noise, and a lot of people do. And by string noise, I mean when you're doing like a heavy vibrato, it has that kind of violin bow effect. Like,
I know, I like it. I like the nuanced harmonics.
yeah,
Well,
and glassel to it too. Obviously, I don't work with Mr. Trucks. I would love to if you're listening.
wow, and you may be after the show. So
Yeah, he
there,
gets a ton of that great bowing effect with his glass too, but
right.
everything he does is so perfect that it he's gonna get that. But
Well, and like Warren Haynes as well. I mean, I think Warren gets a great sound. I mean, there's so many, incredible slide players, but also Danny, I got to bring up, um, with your artists that are, endorsed by Rock Slide, you've got some incredible artists as well. And I mean, I know with like the mini marks, uh, you've got a lot of artists that only play Rock Slide.
yeah, um, yeah, I am kind of honored, honestly, because there are a lot of great slides out there, and I would say that the slide maker community, we're all friendly towards each other. We're not cutthroat. I mean, diamond bottlenecks will refer me people, or if I feel that somebody's contacting me that wants something that I don't have or can't do well, I say, yeah, man, call Furious, call Silica, call my buddy over at Diamond, or yeah, call any number of these people. So but yeah, there are quite a few people that say, no, rock slide or die. Like, I will not put another slide on my finger. So
But I think also,
we're
Danny, that comes from,
those guys.
with the artists that are on your website and everything that play rock slides and everything, to where I know, like I mentioned earlier in the show, you've educated a lot of us to where you don't have to just settle. Like when I was a kid and I was buying, the slides, the garden variety slides that were available at Keys Music, it's like we didn't have a lot of choices. It was very, you had chrome or glass, and there was no taper, there were no features. It was like, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I really believe I'd have to really look into this, but I believe Mark Morris, my uncle, really created the first intentional guitar slide. I mean, he said, "Hey, let's actually make a guitar slide, not just go find some available material like at Home Depot and cut some copper pipe to length." So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, he really elevated it for sure.
And then I think what you've done, Danny, is taken that even further with the additions of the materials and everything like that you've added in. And once again, like even with your anniversary slides that you put out. And
Yeah, you've got some really cool stuff coming out this year too. One of them I've talked about on social media, and I don't mind saying it here, but we've got this cool new process where everybody's familiar with the Pantone chart. They might not know what that is, but like you go to the hardware store, the paint store, and you look at the color wall, and you're like, man, they have like 8,000 colors here. We can now do that with this cool process where we take our clear slides and we paint, if you like, literally spray paint, if you will, glass onto the inside of it, and then refire that in the kiln. And what that gives us is the ability to do any color under the sun, but it also it really features the taper because the taper is now colored instead of the entire thing, and it has this clear glass shell around it, which is neat.
I think I saw it on social media because before, if we were talking with the taper inside of the guitar slides, Danny, you felt it. You felt it on your hands. You felt it on your fingers. But looking at it, you really can't tell it visually hard.
Yeah.
But
I
with the
also
paint now, you can.
Yeah, yeah, and it looks cool. It gives it a nice depth. So not only the color options, but yeah, it gives it like a really cool, uh, like you're looking at a really wicked hot rod with like a triple clear coat or something, and you're like, man, that looks deep, and you can kind of almost see down into it, and the color is beneath this shell of clear.
So what you could actually do then, once again, talking the guitar geeks that we are, you could match the color of the guitar that you're playing even.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why we're starting to make so many colors is because everybody has their favorite color. I love sparkles. I've got a sparkle green Strat. I've got
Uh-huh.
a yellow sparkle Strat. I've got another sparkle Strat here. I mean, I just love sparkle Strats. I became addicted to them last year. And so I was been working with my glass maker, and I was like, man, we got to be able to do some sparkle glass. And I don't want to let the cat all the way out of the bag, but he's like, you know what? I think we can do it. So they've sent me some kind of prototype photos. I don't have any in hand yet, but
Okay.
I do believe late this year or possibly in 27, we're going to have some glitter glass, and they'll all have the same tapered interior and everything that we have now. Um, in fact, that's the only thing we do. I mean, every slide I make is tapered interior. That's our claim to fame. But I also have I'm such a nerd, man. I'm not going to show it off yet. I don't even have a black light here, but I have a new like kind of gold swirl pattern coming out
Oh, come on.
that when you put it on stage and you have even like a little mic stand black light
Yeah.
or like show black lights,
Uh-huh.
it glows in the dark like you're in the 1980s in a roller skating rink.
Dude,
And
I was in those roller skating rinks very bad.
yeah, so I'm definitely going to have those later this year. I have prototypes, but I'm not going to.
Yes, it seems like you're gonna have to do then and go ahead and do it with like the glow in the dark paint then too. Like they do for guitars that with the Illuma, what was the Illuma something?
I can't remember what it's called. I do have samples of not rock slides, but just glow in the dark glass where yeah, it's weird stuff. You don't need the black light even. It charges up in the sunlight and it just kind of glows. So that's, again, not necessary, but hey, either is a sparkle Strat. It's just cool. And we all like to wear a funky t-shirt when we're playing on stage or whatever. So I think it'll just add a little bit of coolness, a little bit of extra sauce on the side.
I think that's the problem for me is when I go on your website, Danny, is that there's so many cool slides. And I'm like going, oh my God. It's just like a candy store because once again, many, many years ago, before, your additions and your uncle's additions to slides, it was very limited. I mean, like you said, it was like a Eden bottle or, just whatever you had. I mean, the old blues guys used to play with a pocket knife. I've got a slide. I'll have to show it to you next time we're together that belonged to my great uncle from the early 1900s that is just like a piece of metal with like knurls on the side. And that's what he used to play slide. I'm like going, there's no way that you can also play a chord or anything else with that.
Yeah. Cigarette lighters, whatever. The thing is like, yeah, if you're good and you're motivated and you practice, you can play with anything. But the fact is slide is really hard. And we try to just make it a little bit easier by getting you a proper fit. And I do think, like you said, that's one thing people appreciate about me when they meet me or just call me on the phone. Like, I'll sit there and work with you, even if we have to return several slides back and forth. I'll get you the right fitting slide. And if I ultimately can't, which is very rare, I'll either do something custom or modify something, or I'll send you to somebody that I know that can make you a better product. Like my passion has really become getting people the best fitting slide. I don't even have to make every sale at this point. Like we sell enough slides that I'm comfortable and happy. And
Yeah.
if I'm not going to just take your money if I can't get you the right fit. So,
I mean, you're not Derek Trucks happy yet, but you will be.
hey man, I'm here for you, Derek, anytime. So,
But if this, what I was thinking though, Danny, from, you and I talking slides and everything over the years, and when you come out with the newer products, how excited you always are. But to me, it's almost like that old world craftsmanship, and you're making these in the United States. But it's like,
for the most part, I mean, we do import stuff too,
yeah. But I mean, for the most part, the majority of the slides you're offering, but it's like a shoe fitting. It's like when we were little kids and you used to have to go into the shoe store and they put you on the thing and measure your foot. And it's like, going, okay, well, it's a little wide here and all this. I feel like that's what you do with slides.
Yeah. Well, and with the glass, I can get really specific with people. I mean, the fact is with the brass, we set up $1 million screw machine with those. We hit go, it's going to spit out thousands of them. They're all identical. And if somebody said, and I do get this, they say, "Hey, can you make me I need something right in between a medium and a small brass." And I'm like, "Well, we could do it, but it's going to be about a $500 guitar slide because, we're going to have to literally stop production at a huge factory and spit out one guitar slide, engineer a file. I mean, it's really just not doable. But with the glass, I can get pretty nerdy because that stuff's all individually made. So
It's like a
as
custom fit.
as close as we try to get them to each other, a person will call me and say, "Hey, I bought your medium. It's a little too tight." And I say, "No problem. Send it back to me." And I'll sit there and hand pick. I'll go through 5, 10. I've gone up to 50 or 100 slides for people until I find one that's just a little bit looser. And I send it to them and they say, "Oh man, thank you so much. This is the slide." And I say, "Don't drop it."
How incredible is that, though, to be able to have that personal contact?
I mean, my background, I come from the service industry. I went to culinary school. I was a waiter. I like it, man. I mean, I want to get you your food just right. And one of the few people I feel like in the world now, because I mean, geez, I work on cars, I work on all kinds of stuff. And I'm not going to say their name, but I got a bad part from a company that's holding me up from driving my 1932 Ford and the sun's coming out. And I can't even get a hold of anybody there to send me a replacement part. I sent them a picture of it. I sent them a picture of the label from the, so they could see the run and that I actually bought it from them. And I'm like, dude, this, $100 part is holding me up. But you call the rock slide, I mean, you're gonna get me or you're gonna get my voicemail, and I'm either gonna email you back or I'm gonna call you. If you message me on social media and you get a response, it's gonna be from me. I really enjoy talking to people and helping people.
But I think that's why people are more invested, in the rock slides, not by the quality of the products, but because of you. Yeah, there's an actual person that you're working with that's trying to help you get the best slide possible, and even if you're buying multiple ones to have, in the studio or on the road, you want them to be right.
Yeah. Well, and to that end, I get people all the time because like trying shoes online is hard. So if you go to, let's say you go to Amazon and you buy some Nikes or whatever, a lot of people they'll buy an 11 and a half and a 12 and then they send one back. People do that to me all the time and I have no problem with that. Buy 4, 5, 6 slides, try them all on. Sometimes they end up keeping them all. Sometimes they end up buying 2 of them and I refill them the rest. What I prefer, keep all 5 and use the other 3 for your best friend's birthday that's coming up or a Christmas present.
Total. Also,
Better
that's
for
funny.
me, but I don't mind taking them back. I'll never be snarky with a customer, or I'm just not that way. So
No, it's about the customer service, and like I was telling you, I'm playing a charity deal tonight, and so I'm gonna have to go get my rock slide to take with me.
Yeah, bring it, showing off.
Yeah, to play my dub tonight. But I also wanted to bring up, want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Acoustic Coffee, and
Love
and so love coffee. And if you're listening or watching the show with Acoustic Coffee, if you put in the code Gear Gab, all as one word, you will get 20% off your first order. And
That's a good deal.
guests on the show, such as Danny, will be getting a bag of coffee from Acoustic Coffee as a thank you for coming on the show. So
That's awesome. Do you have time to tell me just a quick blurb about their coffee? Because I told you before, I went to culinary school and used to be a chef of some sort. And I roasted coffee for 5 years. So is this kind of a, tell me a little bit about those guys.
Yeah, it's so fun because we had them on Gear Gab recently, and I've been friends with Mike and Rich for a long time, Danny. And they started up this company, and they partnered with certain musicians like Tommy Emmanuel and Jake Shimabukuro and
Love it.
and Greg Boros from over at Gruen Guitars. And they basically make the coffee like they want it, like they send them the different samples. And so, they get Tommy got to pick out his favorite coffee. And then like this one, which is the new one from Jake, to where then proceeds from the coffee, Danny, also go to their favorite charity. So,
wow.
yeah. So like with Tommy Emmanuel's, it benefits Guitars for Vets. So they're able to pick a charity. So it's fun. It's a cool company. And it's just a different model to where, the people, you could try out the different coffees. And they do a subscription deal, but also you get rewards. So, I may have to connect you guys, to where Rock Slide is part of the reward system, to where after you get so many bags of coffee, you get a reward. So
Like a punch card or something. Yeah.
I know, right? It's like, it's fun, but I enjoy it. I didn't know that you had I knew about the culinary and all that and your training and food and all that, but I had no idea what the coffee.
Yeah. I love coffee, man. I'm a coffee.
Well, being musicians, we always are. And I wanted to bring up also, we were talking about, some of the new models coming out. Like, what is your biggest seller right now, Danny? I mean, if you had to point to one slide that, for Rock Slide, that is like hands down.
Well, the Ariel Posen signature model and the medium glass are always neck and neck. I mean, those two. Shortly behind that would be like any of our small glass slides. I suppose it's possible that the glass might actually top the Ariel, because when I say medium glass, I'm talking about like the clear medium glass, but you have like 5 colors of it or whatever. But yeah, definitely medium and small. I sell very few XL slides. When we started, I used to sell more of those. But I've sort of driven that point home for the last 15 years that you don't need an extra large slide. Now I do run into people that legitimately need that because they have big hands, but you would only need that if you're like into kind of like the size 13 ring size, like pretty big hands. But yeah, small size, our Ariel Posen is always definitely our number one signature slide, hands down. None of the others are even really close, honestly.
Well, it goes back to, I was going to bring up, Danny, that you brought up, and certainly when I play, predominantly, I'm a pinky slide player, to where I think a lot more musicians are going to the pinky slide just because it frees up your other 3 fingers.
Yeah.
Or chording and doing other stuff. Although I am going to have to tell you, I'm going to have to, as soon as you officially launch, I am going to have to order a yellow sparkle glass slide.
Those will be in all sizes.
Ah, yes. Because I'm gonna have to order one. I'm gonna have to buy one from you, Danny.
I've got a pretty cool. Can I grab something real quick?
Of course.
Is that free?
Oh, not at all. You're just looking at the wall of guitars, talking with you. I mean, I love it that you have.
When we hang up, I'm gonna send you this.
Oh my God.
That's a gold. Do you see how it's plated? So that's got the shell around it, like we talked.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And that is golden yellow, and it's got our signature 25th anniversary logo on it.
I love that.
Very quick backstory. I had an artist draw that for me, Chris Pruitt. I was gonna get it as a tattoo, And my wife said, I love my wife. She's great. Wonderful. And she just said, absolutely not. You will not be putting that on your body.
Good that she's looking out for you, Danny.
I'm still ink free, maybe one day, but yeah, I'll send that to you. That's a pinky slide, and that you said yellow. It's not sparkle, but it's
Literally, because that's once again talking about our guitar addictions. Probably my favorite, guitar that I played the most when I was gigging heavy is a yellow '89 Stratocaster in graffiti yellow.
oh,
And
yeah,
and I played it so much, and I took it to a guitar center in Vegas one time. I can't remember what for, and the young guys were looking at it and going, "Hey man, is this relic?" I'm like, "Yeah, with these fingers." It's like it's not relic. It's just I played it so much, I've eaten into the fretboard up and down it. You know, but you know how also you play guitar long enough, just like with a great slide, to where it's like it becomes part of you. When you put it on and you play, it's like it's not a separate instrument. It is part of who you are, Damon.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it should feel like an extension of your finger. You
Right.
know,
But you're the one who taught me that because I mean,
yeah,
for years it was just I was using any off the shelf stuff, and then when you and I met, you're like going, "Hey,"
yeah.
it's like, "What are you doing slide wise?" Like, "Well, I'm using this. I got buddies that cut me ones out of wine bottles and all this." He's like, "Oh, you took me through and actually educated me," and I think that's what you've done with a lot of people that were
Do it every day.
that were I mean, and I don't. They were just we were all settling for what we had handed to us, and it was not as good a product as what you have developed, and I think that's what's fun. You took what your uncle had invented with the taper, and then all these innovations that you've done over the years with the company, you
Yeah,
keep making it better and more fun to where it's not just an accessory that's on top of your amplifier or in your guitar case. It's an extension of your personality.
yeah. And I got to give a shout out to my aunt Christy. She was awesome. She really made this all happen for me. She like I said, I was broke. I didn't have any money. So she would front me the inventory at first, and I would pay her as I sold it. And then she patiently waited while I sold my. I've always had classic cars, and I had a 1941 Dodge at the time that was pretty nice and restored. Um, it was kind of a weird car. Not everybody wants a Dodge. They usually want a Ford or Chevy. And she waited for me to get that sold, and then I gave her all the money for that. And she's made it really easy for me. And so, and Chris, thank you very much. You're awesome.
That's so cool. I want to make sure for our viewers and listeners for the show too, Danny, because I know we've got a lot of musicians who tune in for this, whether they're listening to us on the podcast platforms or watching us on our YouTube channel. For the website, for the social media, for the new launches, and also just to be able to come on your website and look at all the different slides and figure out what's right for them. Where do they need to go then?
TheRockslide.com.
And also the Rock Slide then on Instagram and on all
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
social media.
Yeah, that's just anything like that's just going to be at the Rock Slide. Yep.
And then when they reach out, they're actually talking to you. Like when they go to the website
Yeah.
and when they go on social media, and if they have slide questions, like hypothetically, if Derek Trucks reached out and goes, "Hey Danny, I'm thinking about switching slides," I mean, he would actually get you.
It's always me. You don't have to be Derek Trucks either. You could be a 14-year-old kid in high school trying to get your first slide, I mean, right, you're always going to talk to me. Um Sometimes my wife will answer, and also I got to give a shout out to my dear mother, Laura Case, who in retirement comes over here a couple times a week and helps me stuff tubes. That's my aunt's sister. And so, yeah, very, very much a family company. Um, and I don't get mad with anybody ever, but yeah, if you're ever if you ever send a real snarky email to my wife or something, then I might get mad at you. But
Exactly. Well, I was going to bring up also, Danny, it's like going, and I tell you from real world experience, once you buy one Rock Slide, you're going to want to buy more. But
yeah,
it's like going, well, I really like this one, but now I want to try this one. And I think that's what's so fun with your products. And certainly over the years, when I've introduced musicians and people that came on my TV show for the Rock and Review. I've introduced them to your slides, and it's like going to you. And they are just like, that is amazing. And so they've always enjoyed them because of the craftsmanship and just, they feel great. They play great.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. People like them. And I just want to say thanks to you and anybody else who's ever bought even one slide from me. I mean, really, I couldn't do this without you guys. And especially the people that buy them and really like them and then tell their friends about them because, even though you might say, oh, well, he's a really successful slide company, we're still a slide company. So it's not like I sell guitar strings, for example, that they wear out every 3 to 6 months and you got to buy new ones. So sometimes I sell a person a slide and they might love me and it might be their favorite slide they've ever had. And they may still never buy another slide from me. So yeah, sometimes I get a lot of one-time sales for $30. So I really appreciate anybody that buys them and especially the people that spread the word because I just don't have a big advertising budget.
Right.
So,
It's a family business. And I was going to also mention, Danny, and just like, like I always do with our shows and everything else, to where if you are a player and a fan of the rock slides and you're out at a gig or in the studio or whatever, maybe tag Danny with, with the rock slide, with a picture or with a video of you with the product, because I don't think that a lot of people know, Danny, how much that helps because people like you and I, we don't have the big budgets. We can't go out and do the advertising. We can't do all this stuff. So when real players are using the rock slide out in the real world, and then they do a post with it, that helps too, right?
yeah, that helps. And I like to help people too. So you don't have to be a legend. I mean, if you tag me on a social media post and your plan's like good, or even if you're just a beginner, I often repost people and that puts you out to my small little audience. And I do have a small following, but they're pretty potent. I've never reminded one of them, I mean, anybody that follows me on social is there because, they care about our product and they're really involved in the slide community.
Well, I'll tell you what, Danny Songhurst of the Rock Slide, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to have you back on next year down the road when you come out with your new models. But it's always a pleasure talking with you, my friend.
Eric, you are legendary. Thank you for having me on. And as always, I'm just grateful that you thought of me. So happy to be here.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks for joining the Gear Gab Podcast with Eric Dahl. Subscribe to our weekly conversations on your favorite platform. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Gear Gab Podcast. You'll never know who our next guest will be.